My name is Judith. I'm sitting in my home office now, the soft glow of the morning sun filtering through the blinds, casting a warm light over my new iMac and the fresh backups humming gently in the corner. It's been a while since the storm, and now, there's nothing but peace. But it wasn't always this way. A few months ago, I found myself at the police precinct, the harsh fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, casting a sickly yellow pallor over everything. My younger brother, Leo, was in a holding cell, sniffling and calling for our mother, Lily. And there she was, bursting through the doors like a tempest, my father, Henry, trailing behind with a face as dark as a thundercloud. "Drop the charges," Henry barked at me, "no greetings, no concern for how I was. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. You gave him permission." I didn't even look up from my hands. "I didn't," I said firmly. Lily grabbed my arm, her voice shrill. "He's your brother. You're ruining his life. A felony record? He'll never get a good job, never get a loan. You're destroying his future over a few pieces of metal." I looked her dead in the eye. He destroyed his own future when he decided he was entitled to my hard-earned money and my work. And you helped him. Henry's face turned an alarming shade of purple as he shouted, "We were protecting the family." That's what leaders do. We make the hard choices, take from those who have to support those who need. That's how this family works. But then, a voice cut through the chaos. It wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of a gavel. Standing at the precinct entrance, leaning on an ebony cane, was my grandmother, Eleanor. My father's face went slack. "Mother, what are you doing here?" Eleanor ignored him. She walked past Henry and Lily, who suddenly seemed to shrink into her designer coat, and stopped in front of me. She looked at my tired eyes and the police report in my hand. "I heard about the truck and the burglary," she said. "How?" I asked, still in a bit of a daze. "I have my ways," she replied. Then she turned to Henry. "And you, sit down." They both sat, as if it were an instinct. When Eleanor commanded, you obeyed. "You speak of protecting the family and making hard choices," Eleanor said, her voice as cold as ice. "Let's talk about choices. For 30 years, I've subsidized your failures, Henry. The house you live in? I paid the down payment and the property taxes every year. The business that never makes a profit? I cover the overhead. The vacations, the club memberships, the cars? Who do you think pays the bills when you forget?" Henry went pale, and Lily looked like she was about to be sick. "I did it because I promised your father I'd look after you," Eleanor continued. "But I see now I've created a monster who thinks he's a king, and that monster raised a son who thinks he's a prince." She pointed a shaking finger at Henry. "You stole from your daughter, the only one in this family who actually works for a living. You drained her to feed your own delusions of grandeur." "Mother, please," Henry stammered. "It's complicated. Cash flow." "There is no cash flow," Eleanor snapped. "There's only my bank account, and as of this morning, it's closed to you." Lily let out a gasp. "Eleanor, you can't. The mortgage is your problem," Eleanor said. "The credit cards are cancelled, and the monthly stipend is gone. You're 55 years old, Henry. It's time you learned what the real world costs." Then she turned back to me. Her eyes softened, and I saw a glimmer of tears she refused to shed. "I'm sorry, Judith. I enabled this. I shielded them from consequences, and they passed the bill to you. But the debt is settled now." She reached into her purse and pulled out a check. She pressed it into my hand. "Press the charges. Let him learn. And then, my dear, go live your life." I looked at the check. It was for $24,000 plus an extra $15,000 for the stolen equipment. I looked at my parents, slumped on the bench, stripped of their power, finally realizing the lights were about to go out. "Goodbye," I said. I turned to the officer. "I'm ready to sign the statement." But how did I get here? It all started on Christmas Eve. I was 28 years old, and I thought I was part of a family. Little did I know, they only loved my bank account. It was 11:51 p.m. The cold, dark silence of my home office was shattered by a single text from Lily. "We've decided as a family that you're no longer welcome here. Don't come tomorrow." I stared at the screen, my hand freezing over my drafting tablet. Across town, in a warm house filled with food I bought and decorations I paid for, they were celebrating my exclusion. And then, a second notification. Leo had hearted the message. That was the moment the sadness died. For 5 years, I'd been more of a silent investor in my parents' image than a daughter. And that night, they'd fired me. I opened my laptop. In the darkness of my apartment, the blue glow of the screen was the only light. I logged into the family cellular account first. There were 4 lines, unlimited data, and international roaming for Leo, who claimed he needed it for his so-called business networking, though it was mostly just crypto forums and online gaming. I removed their numbers. Click. Confirm. Gone. Next was the streaming bundle. Premium cable, the sports package Henry insisted on for golf season, and the ad-free tier Lily needed for her movies. I'd been paying for it since I was 23, a monthly tribute to keep the peace. I canceled it without hesitation. Then came the country club membership. $400 a month so Henry could strut around like a wealthy gentleman. I deleted my credit card information and set the account to non-renewal. It took just 12 minutes to dismantle the financial support I'd built for them. As the confirmation emails pinged into my inbox, my mind drifted back to the dinner 4 hours ago. Their house smelled of pine needles and expensive candles. The Christmas tree was perfect, adorned with gold ribbon I'd bought. The table was set with fine china. We were halfway through the roast beef when Lily cleared her throat. She had that look in her eyes, the one that meant she wanted something but wanted me to think it was my idea. She told me that for their 35th wedding anniversary, they wanted to go on a luxury cruise around the Mediterranean. "It would be magical, Judith. The trip of a lifetime," she said. Then came the heavy silence, the unspoken demand. $20,000. I put my fork down. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. I looked at Leo, who was busy texting under the table, oblivious to all this. Then I looked at my parents. "No," I said quietly and respectfully. "I've been saving every spare cent for a down payment on my own home. I'm tired of renting. I'm ready to build my own life." The temperature in the room dropped. Lily didn't scream or throw a plate. Instead, she let her eyes fill with tears, a performance she'd perfected over the years. "I didn't realize you'd become so selfish," she said, her voice trembling. "You care more about bricks and mortar than the family that raised you. You're ruining Christmas with your greed." Henry didn't even look at me. He just pointed to the door. "If you're not willing to support this family, you don't need to eat at this table." I left. I drove home in silence. And sitting in the dark, watching the service termination notifications roll in, I realized I was done. The silence in my apartment wasn't lonely, it was expensive, and for the first time, I wasn't the one paying the bill. The peace lasted 31 days. I started to believe I was free. But then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. The screen flashed Mom. My stomach dropped. That old, familiar dread took over. I let it ring, and when it stopped and started again, I answered. I didn't say hello. I just listened. "Judith, please," Lily sobbed. This wasn't the fake crying she used at dinner parties. This was real panic. "You have to help us. They're going to hurt him." "Who?" I asked, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hand. "Leo," she choked out. "He made some bad investments in crypto. He borrowed on margin and owes $50,000. The platform is threatening legal action, and he borrowed from the wrong people to cover the losses. I closed my eyes. Leo had been bragging for months about his financial genius, posting screenshots of graphs he clearly didn't understand. We don't have it, Lily continued, her voice rising in hysteria. We maxed out the credit cards for the anniversary trip deposits. We have nothing liquid. You have to help him. He's your brother. They'll break his legs, Judith. Please. I should have hung up. I should have reminded her that she'd evicted me just a month ago. But I was trapped by that invisible chain forged in childhood. I was starving for their love, for them to see me as the good one. I can't pay it all, I said, my voice sounding hollow in the empty apartment. Anything helps, she begged. I have $25,000, I said. It's my entire savings for the house. It's everything I have. Give it to us, she said instantly, no hesitation, just a greedy grasp. We can find the rest if you give us that. Please, Judith. He's learned his lesson. He's terrified. He'll change. I promise. The drive to the bank was a blur. The teller looked at me with concern when I requested the cashier's check. $25,000, 3 years of overtime, skipped vacations, and dreams of a home. I met them at their house. I didn't go inside. I stood on the porch, the same porch they'd pointed me off of on Christmas Eve. Leo was there, pale and shaking, hiding behind Henry. Henry wouldn't meet my eyes. I handed the check to Lily. She snatched it like a lifeline. He pays me back. Every cent. This is a loan, I said, my voice hard. Of course, Lily said, already turning away, her eyes fixed on the check. Thank you, Judith. You saved us. You're a good sister. But I didn't feel like a good sister. I felt hollow. I walked to my car, expecting relief, but instead, I felt like I'd just given away a part of myself. 2 weeks passed in silence. I tried to tell myself that no news was good news, that Leo was working to pay off his debt. But then, on a Saturday morning, I saw it on my social media feed. A photo posted by Leo's girlfriend, Ava. The caption read, "New truck day. So proud of my man for grinding so hard." I clicked on the photo. There was Leo, grinning like he'd won the lottery, leaning against a brand new lifted pickup truck, a monster of a vehicle that cost over $65,000. I drove to my parents' house. I didn't call or text. I just drove, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The truck was parked in the driveway, glistening in the sun, an insult made of metal and glass. I pounded on the door. Henry answered, looking annoyed. He was cleaning his golf clubs, probably for a round he could now afford because I wasn't there to cancel his membership. Where is he? I demanded, pushing past him. Judith, calm down, Henry said, though he didn't move to stop me. What's your problem? My problem is that truck in the driveway, I said, walking into the living room where Leo was showing Lily something on his phone. Leo looked up, his smile faltering for a second. Oh, hey Jude. Nice, right? Just picked it up. You told me you owed $50,000 and were going to be killed. I gave you $25,000 to save your life. Did you pay the debt? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. He shrugged. I paid some of it. I made a deal, restructured the payment plan. You bought a truck with my money, my house money, I screamed. I need it for work, he shot back. I'm starting a landscaping business. You have to spend money to make money. You wouldn't understand. You just sit at a computer all day. I looked at Lily. She was avoiding my gaze, examining a throw pillow. You knew he didn't pay the debt, I said. He needs a fresh start, Lily said, her voice taking on that familiar pleading whine. He was depressed. The debt was crushing him. He needed a win. That truck gives him confidence. Confidence? He stole from me. That's fraud, I said. It's not stealing. You gave him the money. It was a gift, Henry interjected, crossing his arms. Family doesn't loan to family. Once the money leaves your hand, it's his. Stop being so controlling. I looked at them, really looked at them. Henry with his unearned pride, Lily with her enabling weakness, and Leo with his sociopathic entitlement. Okay, I said. The anger was gone, replaced by a cold, heavy feeling in my gut. If that's how it works. Where are you going? Lily asked as I turned to the door. To see a lawyer, I said. You wouldn't, Henry scoffed. You won't sue your own brother. Watch me, I said, and I left. I went straight to a contract lawyer recommended by a colleague. I paid the retainer fee with my credit card and had him draft a demand letter. Leo had 30 days to repay the $25,000 or I'd file a civil suit for fraud and unjust enrichment. I also logged into every remaining shared account I'd forgotten or left active out of pity. I changed the Netflix password, removed the Amazon Prime account shipping to their address, and deleted the shared cloud storage. 3 days after I sent the demand letter, I came home to an unlocked door. I knew I'd locked it. I stood in the hallway, my heart pounding. There was no sign of forced entry. I pushed the door open. The apartment was too quiet. I called out, "Hello?" But there was no answer. In my home office, my desk was bare. My dual-monitor setup, my professional-grade iMac, and my external hard drives with 5 years of client work in my portfolio were all gone. On the kitchen island was a silver key, the spare key I'd given Lily 3 years ago for emergencies. Next to it was a note in Leo's handwriting, "Lawyers cost money. Consider this the interest on the debt you owe this family for raising you." My phone buzzed. A text from Lily, "Leo took the computer to the pawn shop. He says he can get enough to make the truck payments until his business takes off. Call off the lawyer, Judith. Stop this nonsense before you ruin your brother's future over a computer." In that moment, I understood the trap of normalized cruelty. They didn't see this as burglary, they saw me as the problem for setting boundaries. But I couldn't let this slide. I picked up my phone and dialed 911. The police didn't need much to solve the case. I had the text admission from Lily, the pawn shop location, and the serial numbers of my equipment. Within 2 hours, Leo was in handcuffs. Now, looking back, I'm grateful for this newfound peace. The check from Eleanor covered the loan, the stolen equipment, and the emotional scars. I bought a new iMac, upgraded my security system, and changed my number. I used to feel guilty about walking away from my family. But I realized that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to let go. I'm not a bank account or a safety net. I'm a survivor, and I'm building my own family, one based on respect, kindness, and mutual support.